What we're looking at here at the moment is one of the last great marketplaces in Warsaw that are done the old-fashioned way. So there's quite a lot of things there, and I'll try not to knock my head going through this time, but basically I can film it because it looks as though I'm talking down a phone, whereas in fact what I'm doing is filming, and people won't actually think I'm making that sort of thing when basically as we go past this door here, you'll see what it's all about, why I'm taking this film. This guy's got a bunch of weapons, actually I'll show you, he's just come back to them, but I don't know if you saw those rifles in there, but they were sort of left unguarded pretty much there for quite some while. He's gone off again, leaving them unguarded over there, and I thought it was quite interesting to see all those rifles loaded up there in that simple hut. Offensive weapons just left there, massive great big number of them, about 10 or so. I'm not even sure that one of them wasn't an AK-47. I wouldn't swear by that though. So it's quite an interesting environment. I'm not particularly having to look as though I'm talking on the phone at the moment. I think I'm being followed. It's like a little shanty town. It's a market, each one's got its number, that's 222. Right now there's not an awful lot going on. They're all selling things a bit cheaper than in the shops and people come and buy them. They don't seem to care too much that they haven't got any of the kind of guarantees that they'd have in a normal shop, because after all the normal shops aren't very good with their guarantees anyway. Let's be honest about it. They've all got these funny roofs up there like that. So that's what you've got like a kind of little market with all these little, well, rather, usually they're not very well heated. You know, people just heat them during the time when they come to them. Other than that, they're just locked up, and they've been here a long time. They're definitely looking old, and you know, there's quite a labyrinth of them all here. Several rows of them. It all amounts to, and it gets pretty crowded when they're all open. And I couldn't just come here and show everything very easily then, because I'd be recording people going about their business. They might not necessarily like it that much, but effectively you can see how far down it goes that way. There's quite a big rectangle, and it goes on the other side of Halabanacha as well. So if you put it all together, it's quite like a shopping village for cheap shopping, and people come here in their thousands, tens of thousands every Saturday and during the week and on Sunday mornings. So that quite an awful lot of the commerce that gets done in places like that. Of course, it looks like an awful dive, but I mean, they buy their stuff from the same places that the shops do. Sometimes they have possibly less than legal things mixed into the mix, but there's no real way of telling that for you and me that go and buy there. Grujetska, and its intersection with Banacha going down that way. The area of Ochota. Over there on that side of the road is a so-called family shop. You can buy yourself a family there if you haven't got one. They apparently sell them by the day. The commencement of every 24-hour period, Sunday's free. You can get them in that family shop. Different specifications. This is non-stop alcohol-y. These are alcohol that never stops working, even after you're dead. Somebody a while back actually asked me for some money for some alcohol, and he walked down the street a little while after me saying that he wanted me to give him some money for alcohol. And I started filming him, but unfortunately I didn't press the button often enough, so I don't think I got that film. But it just seems to me that a little bit of industry on the part of that gentleman, instead of expecting me to give it to him for free, he could have, you know, planted some grapes on his allotment and harvested them, and you know, put them in a wine press and pressed them down with his own bare feet and bottled them and left them to ferment, and he would have his own alcohol. He wouldn't have to go asking me for it. I mean, these are the things that grow on trees, and Why do people ask for money to buy alcohol when it's so freely available on this planet? And I don't get that. It's all the government's fault for making it illegal to brew your own. Now we get accosted in the street by these alkies asking for money to do it, when if it wasn't for the government, they could be making their own quite legally and not needing to pester us in that way. And we wouldn't have to put up with all this alcoholism if people could only make their own. But as usual, the government sort of ruins everything for everybody, and then they expect us to elect them in. I say don't vote for anybody, but whatever you vote, whether you vote for the people in power or against power, just even taking part in it gives it credibility. They say, oh, it's the essence of democracy. I'm sorry, but the essence of democracy would be letting us do it on the internet. We've got the internet, they don't let us do it, so why should we vote in paper and queue up outside polling stations? They could use the internet to let us vote on all sorts of different things, such as, for example, whether we want to do this bailout for the banks. Most people don't want to do it, but we didn't get asked. Such as, for example, whether we agree with capital punishment. In fact, we could even be asked to vote on whether we agree with capital punishment for specific cases, because it wouldn't cost anything. But they don't believe in democracy. They believe in some falsifiable version of democracy, which is the ballot box. And whenever we go and vote at a traditional ballot box, what we're saying is, yes, we agree with having the wool pulled over our eyes with that system. And that's why I'm never going to go to a standard ballot box and cast a vote for anybody ever again. The only time I'm going to vote again, the next time I vote, is going to be when it's allowed on the internet. Until then, sorry, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in your form of outdated pseudo-democracy. Get your acts together, get the technology that's available working in favour of the people, and then I'll vote and take part in it. But as it is, you're just trying to pull the wool over our eyes with this ballot box nonsense once every 5 years when all the parties want the same things anyway. You're not giving us any choice. All you're trying to do is get the legitimacy by the fact that some people do go along and cast their vote like sheep for whatever party it is, thinking that that's their democratic duty. It's not. It's just the way they've been brainwashed to think that it is, and it's all a load of rubbish. This is Ghetto Street in Warsaw. Something that might interest my regular people. Just here at the top of Ghetto Street, the top, if you like, of Ochota, is the ICCC or Intercity head office. What they're offering here is the train to Russia, and they say caviar I szampan na dobry początek dnia, which is breakfast with caviar and champagne for breakfast, yeah, for a good start to the day, or on the Warsaw to Moscow line, which seems to infer that you can have a champagne breakfast if you take the train from Warsaw to Moscow. Now, it's not exactly the way that I remember that particular train, having taken it myself, but of course it's always possible that they have improved it. If anybody's taken the Warsaw to Moscow train recently, jeżeli ktoś ostatnio wziął pociąg od Warszawy do Moskwy i faktycznie tam jest szampan na śniadanie i kawior, to bardzo proszę powiedzieć mnie o tym, bo będę ciekawy. To będzie ewentualnie też ciekawostką dla mnie tam jechać pociągiem. The other thing is that they don't mention the fact that it goes through Belarus and you need a separate visa for Belarus, which I think would be quite useful to mention at that point, but never mind. They're selling services, so they sell like a lot of other people, not everybody, but most other people. They don't tell you everything that you need to know. It's actually the 19th of October. Happy birthday, Sarah, if you're listening. I just rang you. This is already old. They should have taken it away because it's only from the 16th to the 18th, not to the 19th. They ought to clear the placards away after they finish, when they're no longer a thing. The people never do this properly. Anyway, this is a theatre. This is a theatre one. It's really the place to put up trade fair things. This is the trade fair for the International Dartboard Trade Fair in the Expo Centre. It's the centre for exposing yourself, and it's international dartboards with sort of toy trains and everything are shown on that trade fair. So it's the International Dartboard Trade Fair, which is just finished. So if you want to go there, wait till next year. There's I'm taking this for no other good reason other than that you see a couple of trams that decorated rather differently. The basic tram looks like it looks, and these ones are the old-fashioned ones that have now been painted over with adverts on, and they look completely different to one another, so you have a good chance of telling the same tram again, so that you might remember that one because it's the one with the black laptop computer adverts on, and that's the one with the green top market on, and then you might remember, oh yes, well I've been on that one before and I must remember not to sit on the seat in the fifth aisle because it's got chewing gum on it and things like that, which I think is more useful than having them all looking the same. I understand about uniform and everything like that, but I think it's probably nice when there's a bit of variety in life, I think that's one of the things I like about Poland, that things are a little bit higgledy-piggledy. They don't match together all that well. You've got, for example, the old communist architecture on that side of the street mixed together with modern stuff on this side of the street and over there as well, so it's all mixed up and different types altogether. You've got that between the trees over there, you probably can't see it very well. That building that almost seems to be leaning over, that's the Daewoo Centre, made by the Koreans, Daewoo. So, oh, and there's another one, Selgros, which is a French thing, but it's in the old Swedish-Ukrainian blue and yellow colours, more often used by IKEA. The one going there is more of a traditional one without really any ads on it, except for a public information thing that says make sure you drive without taking alcohol. So they're putting public information ones on when they haven't sold an advert, which is standard practice in most of the media business, that if you don't sell advertising you put up public service adverts, and it looks a bit like you've got advertising when of course you haven't, and in the meantime you can say, well yes, I'm doing something for society, which of course you are, so I'm not saying that people shouldn't do that, they should do it, and it's keeping those blocks as well free to be used for advertisers when the advertisers come along. So, but it's always interesting to notice when people do put up public sector adverts. There's no requirement for there to be public sector or public service announcements put on trams. So the fact that they put them there at all is because they're keeping spaces free, letting people know in a way that they can advertise there. Yeah. Otherwise, you have the usual thing that people who are less in the know do. The people who are less in the know just put up something saying this could be the place for your advert. Whereas they could have a public service announcement there, and it would say the same thing, but would also be a little bit more conscientious on their part to do that. Oh, we're just coming down the corner, and as you see, the emergence of Stalin's pleasure dome there, the Palace of Culture, one of the iconic buildings. Let me focus in on it a bit. One of the iconic buildings of Warsaw just appeared. There's the Millennium Tower. There's some more big stuff over there. This thing that looks like a seaside building, the way it's painted, really rather atrocious if you really think about it. This is the Sobieski Hotel, which is actually a good value for money, good quality hotel, but it does look atrocious in those gaudy colours. But like I say, Warsaw everything's muddled up together, so in a sense it's almost like a little comment on that, the way that things are just flat next to each other. And then you've got over there, even though it's central, a huge great big area over there with nothing developed on it yet, which you will see again more things in the future. And one thing you have to say for Warsaw, it's got a tremendous amount of unutilised space in it, green space and open building space waiting for permits and things like that. So what we have is a 1.8 million populated city in the space that will be taken up by, and usually taken up by a city which has 3 or 4 million people in it, which is nice. I like it. Okay, well here we've got an interesting thing. We've got like an old-fashioned travel case and an easel next to it, and that's making up an advert to a cafe called Mess Eater. Mess Eater. It says it's worth looking in there. Now I just wonder whether Mess Eater is actually the best name for a coffee house. But it's interesting the way they've made it a little bit exotic, just with a couple of accoutrements here. The easel, that's a suggestion of art, isn't it? And the old-fashioned travel bag, the old-fashioned suitcase with the old locks on it, that we all know from Granddaddy's attic. And an old book here, an old kind of cover design with the It's something by John Killens. I'm not actually aware of the author, I have to admit. Maybe it's, if anybody's read John Oliver Killens, I don't know if this is correct, but it looks like "and we heard the thunder," and we heard a thunder, clap of thunder or something. I don't know whether that's a correct back translation. It may be something completely different. Sometimes translating is a bit like Chinese whispers, but that's what that is supposed to be, the Polish translation of. If anybody can tell me if it's worth reading or not, this John Oliver Killens and this Thunder book, then do let me know. I'm always up for interesting things to read. Went on a website. This is an interesting thing. The secession period, which is a flowers shop, but it actually seems to have more trinkets than flowers in it, more ornaments in it than flowers. The usual kitsch with angels and what have you, but also some nicely painted bottles, some fluffy balls, and actually it's undescribable kitsch, isn't it? Look at that though, with the face, and that sun there with the face. I always think when people paint faces on the sun, they kind of like deserve to have their heads kicked in. There is no face on the sun. You know, so don't put one there, please. Big Japanese fans here too. Some interesting cushions there. These fans are really quite impressive. That seems to be actually, that's probably Japanese, because I can see although I don't recognise the way they've written the O there is a little bit funny. That hiragana O's got a kind of more of a curve in it than I would have put there, but then what do I know? Nothing. There you are, a little deer waiter serving some crisps or something in a bowl. Isn't that the ultimate piece of kitsch to give as a gift to somebody? Or is the ultimate piece of kitsch this vase? No, actually it's quite nice, I like that. I'm not going to call that kitsch. Even that's not too bad. But that dog, that takes the biscuit, doesn't it? Isn't it awful? There's another couple of these guys here holding a number of bowls up and a funny looking horse in the distance. I'm nearly out of battery anyway. This dog just looks evil, basically. There's a kitty cat. And some containers made from wood that are fashioned to look like a pair of breasts, with differently coloured nipples. And again, here we get the beginning of the old ghetto. This is Siena Street, the bottom of Siena Street. And you've got beautiful new architecture with interesting sculptures on the top of that building there. I don't know if I can zoom up onto those four standing statues. But it's up against, on the other side this of the road, this completely communistic structure, which looks rather dated already. So the figures over there turn out to be all in old knights' costumes, Templar knights' costumes. Probably 4 Templars there, just sort of basically symbolising something rather not too wholesome. And they're overlooking over on this side of the road this king with his sword, again an ancient king, and you'll see the same even-sided cross denoting the Templars up on his throne as well. So you can see that Templar influence is still alive and kicking in this country, and as long as you've got your eyes open you can see it all over the place. Some people know why that is as well. If you want to know more about that, then you need to tune into some of those radio broadcasts I've got up on my channel, where things like that get discussed from time to time, and also in the Skype Chat. Chipe is actually not a bad word for it. The Skype Chat on that for that channel. If you like Skype chatting and you want to join the fun even without being a radio listener, you can join. It's an open public Skype chat, which is, you can join by clicking on it next to my name in Skype. If you haven't added me as a contact on Skype, you can. It's david.j.james. Please do that. Find me on Skype if you're a Skyper and add me to your contacts. I'll add everybody. I can always drop off people later on if they turn out to be spam artists. So first, if anybody asks me to be their contact, they will be added, and you can join in the Skype chat which I've got for radio themes, but which has interesting topics being discussed on it generally, and the more the merrier is what I always say. Some people suggested, in fact Tommy Boyd suggested, that we on the Skype chat are not very welcoming. I think just to prove that wrong, I think I'd like to open that whole Skype chat that I've got going on there, although it was for Play Radio UK listeners at first. I'd like to open it up to the whole world, because you'll see that it's an interesting bunch of people that listen to talk radio. If you like chatting, discussing all sorts of things, then you'll fit right in there in that already thriving chatting and listening and contributing to the radio community. So I'd like to suggest catching up with me on Skype and joining that Skype chat. That's you can click on by my name when you've got me in your contacts. You'll see my Skype chat up there right next to my name. You'll be able to click on it and join in, especially in the evenings when all the radio community are on there talking to each other. Sometimes they're on another Skype chat, sometimes they're on my Skype chat, sometimes they're somewhere else, but you know, it seems to be a long-term thing. So if you're not getting a big frequency one day, you'll probably get it the next. So and you can talk about just about anything, no holds barred, I can tell you. Very broad-minded people. Starting to regret that I only bought the Vado. That's an example here on Żelazna Street, or Iron Street. It's part of the old Ghetto. Part of the area which they, during the Second World War, the Nazis, I should say, cordoned it off and made the Jews live here. And most of it was completely flattened. Looks like that house must have been a bit of an exception, because it certainly looks pre-war, and it's in a very bad way and needs to be upgraded. Those houses are gradually giving way to the more modern things you can see here and on that side over there. Some of it being of very good quality, others of it not quite so high quality. Over there we've got 77 Sushi, which is a rapidly expanding sushi restaurant. 77 Sushi over there, and it's actually got some quite good. It's not my favourite, but it's probably my third favourite in this city, after Izumi Sushi and Maguro Sushi. That's the Swallow's Nest. I don't know what that is. Swallow's Nest, Jaskinia Solna. No, Jaskinia Solna. No, it's not Swallow. Nothing to do with Jaskulki. Sorry, Salt Cave. Jaskinia is a cave, isn't it? Not Jaskulka. A salt cave. So what a salt cave is beyond me. You can see the top of Stalin's effort. Just overlooking that there. Yeah, what I wanted to say. Just about everybody seems very well wrapped up today, and some of them are looking very chilly. I don't know what it is. I don't feel the cold very much. I'm just walking along for a couple of hours dressed like this, no coat, and underneath my shirt it's all, you know, so you know, no vest or anything like that. So basically I'm just, you know, not dressed up for the weather. These guys are dressed up for. I don't know who's right and who's wrong about what the weather is, but basically I've noticed that people in Eastern Europe don't give a chance to the weather to get at them at all. Now it's true, I feel a bit snuffly sometimes on these things, but you know, it always just goes away again afterwards. You've got to build up a certain resistance to the cold. You can't just, you know, expect. Look, for example, over there, everybody's got a coat on out of that group, and the children especially dressed up. How are they ever going to develop any kind of toughness and resistance if they're mollycoddled against the weather like that? But the Polish people always do it, and the English always don't. It's actually 15 degrees plus today, which is 60 in the Fahrenheit system, and most British people, I can guarantee you, would be dressed much more lightly than that. So obviously it gets very cold in Poland. It gets so cold that you couldn't, you know, venture forward for even a few moments without properly dressing up. But I often think to myself, if people dress up in their winter clothes while it's still actually quite warm, what are they going to do when it gets really cold? I mean, that's when I put my coat on, when it gets down to about 0. Until then I don't bother with it, and I don't suffer. You've got to build up resistance. That's what you have to do. You have to toughen yourself, and you have to build up resistance in this life. Otherwise, you won't be able to deal with the things that come along. The roundabout which I'm next to here, with this, the Golden Egg building, if you like, or the Mercedes building on this side, and you've got the Samsung building there, the telecommunication building there. Here in the middle is the so-called, and you've got the atrium going up there. This is John Paul II Street going down that way, over the bridge, in that direction. And here you've got Świętokrzyska, I believe, yes, Świętokrzyska, Holy Cross Street, going that way. And up there you can see the ONZ, which is the United Nations organisation. Organizacja Nacji Zjednoczonych, Narodów Zjednoczonych. This building's called Rondo ONZ building, and it's got Ernst & Young in it and a number of other things. I did some work on it at one stage in the, some financial work on it at one stage in the life of this building, particular project, so I feel a little bit of affinity to it for that. It's one of the prime pieces of real estate in this city. More and more are being built all the time, and this will in due course pale into insignificance in comparison with some of the things which are even being built and planned at today's date. Warsaw will become a very impressive modern city. The fact that it was knocked down during the war, the fact that it doesn't have much for tourists, the fact that a lot of the things which have been put up after the war are pieces of rubbish and need really to be taken down in due course, all of this is not good, but it also represents an incredible opportunity. Warsaw has very deep roots, even though the top got chopped off, and it's also the capital city of one of the largest European nations. So you shouldn't underestimate the future of Warsaw. This is going to be a very prominent city in the future. Here at the Coffee Heaven shop, they've got plenty of interesting advice for you in the window. Buy some flowers. Live a little. Look forward, not back. Taste the flavours. Smell the aroma. Look forward, not back again. These are a few of my favourite things. That's a quote from Dana, the original Dana, that is, not Dana International, from the Eurovision Song Contest. Here we go. Treat yourself every day. I think it's supposed to be two words, not one, but never mind. Put it right if you can. But if you can't, if it's too much problem now that you've done it, it doesn't matter. But it should have been 2 words. Every day might be your last, so enjoy the present. And what else have they got? Smile every day. That's again, we've got it written as 1 word again. Life is the greatest of all games. That's quite good. I like that. Life is the greatest of all games. Then you've got think big. Just to show that you should think big, then you have that. You have it really in big letters. We've got the favourite things quote again. Perfection is attainable. And just to prove that perfection is attainable, we have a pretty near perfect looking girl on the other side of the window. Yes, I had time to notice even that. We are passionate about what we do, they say. What else is there? Live every day to its fullest again. Oh, here's a couple more really good ones. State your opinion. It matters. Your opinion matters. If you want to say your opinion, by the way, add it to the comments below. Courage is contagious, but remember, speak softly. No loud talking. Not around here anyway. Okay. Those girls probably think I was doing it just in order to get them on tape, but that's not my... Honestly, the surprise is I didn't. I only noticed after I started doing it that there was actually somebody there that was worth filming in her own right, but there we go. I didn't do that intentionally this time. Okay, here's quite a sizable building, and everybody knows what that one is who's had to do with Warsaw. That's the Stalin's Palace of Culture. placed here in the 1950s. Don't ask me the exact date of birth of this magnificent edifice. One thing I know though, and that is that there is in fact there's a technology exhibition going on in there today, but I'm not on time for it, it's already stopped. But it's used for all sorts of interesting things. They're showing off segways in there, I happen to know, because the Segway chap rang me and said come and have a look at our segways in the Palace of Culture, but I'm not really sure whether I want a Segway. I'm not even sure they're going to be legal, so it's always useful to be able to buy something you know you can use, but I'd rather not buy things you're not sure whether you'll be able to use. Anyway, as you can see, there's the Palace of Culture with you walking along that way. And I continue the walk on this side of Świętokrzyska Street. There's a nice looking fish tank in that real estate office. See if we can zoom up on it for a bit. That's for the people waiting to get seen by the real estate agent. Maybe prices interest you. You've got mainly rental prices here. For example, there's a I can't believe it. That's if I'm not mistaken, there's even something in my block. No, it's not. It's the same builder, but it's another part of same builder, same architect, another further away part of town. 134 meters. Built 2008, and the price is 7,000 zlotys a month, which is going to work out at something like $3,000. No, maybe that's overstated. But it's going to be €2,000 a month for that 134 meter apartment in a nice development in Wilanów. So that's if you want to know what it's going to cost you to hire in Warsaw, that's the offering price, and I'm not saying that you won't be able to do better by bargaining with them. You should be able to, in fact, in today's environment. Here we've got a gallery of Bulgarian art, so if you want to know what Bulgarian art is, that's basically what Bulgarian art is. I think they call this is primitivist. That particular style, but there are people on here who know an awful lot more about that than I do, but it's still quite interesting. Look at those interesting looking almost cave painting arrangements there in frames. More primitivist work going out there in the background. No, it's nice, it's quite interesting. They've got quite a few interesting artists. So if anybody wants to, that's interesting. Now that's interesting. It's like a chessboard with Russian letters in it. But it's not only Russian letters. It's a mixture of Russian letters and Greek letters. It looks extremely old. Over there. Let me see if I can... I can't get any closer to it, unfortunately. That would be really something worth having a look at. It's like it's like part of a chessboard. It's not a full one though, because it may be... It's 8 squares going down, but it's only 6 going across. And it's got Greek letters and Russian, or Old Slavonic I should say, letters, like the old yo and the old yen, and the old sh written the old way, all mixed up together on there. So it's definitely showing you the Balkans, if you like, in the year 1000. So I'm standing in the way of another person taking photographs of the art here, who's obviously caught his eye as well. So if you stand anywhere with a camera these days, you always end up with somebody standing next to you taking photographs too. Maybe he's a fan of mine on the internet, I don't know, I'll ask him. But here we go. That's interesting, isn't it? I mean, this is a quite tremendous display of Tiffany lamps here. There's some lovely looking berries in amongst the leaves, and well, that's actually a very nice looking Tiffany lamp. Maybe I should get this back.